Welcome to day 2 of lesson 4-1. I can solve equations that include variables. In order to be successful, I must explain two things: how to determine the value of a variable, or how to substitute a known value for the variable to solve the equation. And the word variable is a math term that we learned in 3rd grade. It really just means a letter that stands for a number within an expression or an equation. So our first learning target is I can determine the value of a variable. So in this problem, we need to determine what does n really represent. 6 times what number, or n, equals 72. So we're going to have to play a little game I like to call inverse operation. We need to do the inverse operation of 6 times n equals 72. And since I know my inverse operation, the inverse operation of multiplication is division. Instead, I'm going to do 72 divided by 6 equals n. This is how I'm going to solve for my variable n and figure out what does this variable actually represent. The easiest method that I know is digit by digit. So I'm going to set up 72 divided by 6. 6 goes into 7 one time. 6 times 1 equals 6. So I'm going to subtract it from 7. 1, I'm going to carry my 2 down. 6 goes into 12. How many times? 2 times. Now I need to multiply 6 times 2 equals 12. 12 minus 12 equals 0. My remainder is 0, which means that my answer, or n, equals 12. N equals 12. And I can double check my work by doing multiplication. 6 times 12 equals 72. Let's check it out. 12 times 6, or 6 times 12, it should equal 72. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry my 1. 6 times 1 is 6 plus this one, 72. I know that my answer is correct and n equals 12. So this was the first part of our learning target. I can determine the value of a variable. And sometimes you might have to use inverse operations in order to determine it, especially when there's an equation and our answer is on this side, but our variable is in the middle. So our second part of the learning target today is we're going to substitute a known value for the variable to solve the equation. So there's 2 steps we need to take. We need to first substitute the value, then we are going to simplify and solve. So in a problem like this, we have the variable, we know that b equals 7, and we have our expression 22 minus b plus 4. So when I think about PEMDAS, I see there are parentheses, so I'm going to start right there. The first thing that I need to do when I know the value of the variable is I'm going to substitute it in for each letter. Well, there's only one b, so I'm going to substitute it one time. So I need to rewrite this expression. 22 minus, here's my variable, 7 plus 4. Now I can solve it. So I'm going to start with my parentheses first. 7 plus 4, I know that that equals 11, and I'm going to drop everything else down. 22 minus 11. A lot of us are having trouble subtracting horizontally, where our numbers go from left to right instead of top to bottom. So I'm going to bring it over here just to double check my subtraction. 22 minus 11, 2 minus 1 is 1, 2 minus 1 is 1. My answer is 11. So today you learned a couple things. You learned how to determine the value of a variable using inverse operations, and you knew how to substitute a known value for the variable in order to solve the equation.